What's good, y'all? Welcome to another preseason preview video. Man, we are getting so close to the NBA season. Today, as I'm recording this, that we had our first preseason game of the Dallas Mavericks versus the Timberwolves out in Abu Dhabi. I wasn't able to watch it, but just the fact that there's live NBA basketball on, oh my god, I'm super excited. You guys have also been giving so much support to my videos recently, and I really do appreciate it. You know, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going crazy for this NBA season. If you haven't seen any of the other preseason preview videos I've done, it's in the description. There's a link to a playlist of all of them. Make sure you check that out. I did a whole bunch of them. Your favorite team might be on there. But without further ado, it's time to talk about the OKC Thunder. They were the biggest surprise. It's between them or the Kings for the biggest surprise of last season. A lot of people expected the Thunder to really just be at the bottom of the standings, tanking again. But no, they surprised everyone. Gilgeous-Alexander surprised everyone, making All-NBA first team, leading this Thunder team to a play-in spot. They won their first play-in game, fell short of the second, so they didn't make the playoffs. But you saw the growth and the potential in this team. The scariest part about that is their top 3 overall pick last season didn't play, and they were that good. They're getting him back this offseason. They continue to draft well, as they always have done, and they got even better. As I mentioned before, the Thunder will be getting back Chet Holmgren, the 3rd overall pick of last year's draft. They're also bringing in 10th overall pick Cason Wallace, as well as getting Davis Bertans in a trade. When the Thunder drafted Chet, they expected him to have a big role on the team and be a big role at that center position. When he went down, they really didn't have too much depth beyond him. They never really had a true center last year. And now that Chet had plenty of time to rehab and come back healthy, he's going to be able to step in and fit into that center role perfectly with his super dynamic play on both ends of the court. You just saw in his stats in college, he almost averaged 4 blocks per game. Elite rim protector, and I don't say that lightly, elite rim protector. And then on the offensive side of the ball, he's super dynamic. Being 7 foot, he's great at grabbing rebounds, those offensive rebounds, and getting putbacks and stuff like that. But he is also incredible at stretching the floor and spacing the floor, shooting 39% from 3 last season. Just a super, I'm going to say it again, super dynamic player at that center position that the Thunder get to add into this lineup. And like Chet, their rookie point guard, Cason Wallace, is going to be able to step in and help improve that defense as well. I've seen scouting reports that said that Cason was the best perimeter defender in the whole draft, and the Thunder were able to get to him at number 10. Then on the offensive side of the ball, the 6'3" point guard is a great playmaker as well. So I've said it before, my favorite type of archetype of player is a defender and a playmaker. Someone that checks both of those boxes, I'm going to love their game. Then when you look at the Davis Bertans trade, it was pretty much just a salary dump, but I do think he has some value on this team. You know, incredible shooter at that forward position, going to be able to come into this team and help them with their shooting, because that is something that they definitely do lack. And he also is just an older player in the NBA, and this team needs some vets and some leadership and some old guys on there to teach them how to do things, because this team was incredibly young. Luckily for this Thunder team, though, they really didn't lose too many players either. The only player that they really lost this offseason was Dario Saric, who ended up signing a deal with the Golden State Warriors. If we're being honest here, I do not think the Thunder are tripping about losing out on Dario Saric. No disrespect, I just don't. The Thunder traded for Dario at the trade deadline last season. He came in, played only 20 games, but he gave them pretty good minutes during those 20 games, you know, being just productive, stretching the floor out. He's very similar to Davis Bertans, who I was just talking about, though, so I really don't think the Thunder are tripping about losing him. And since this team is so young, all of their core guys are pretty much under contract, whether that's their rookie contract or their rookie extension. They're going to be on the team, they're locked up, and the Thunder don't really have to worry about it. And with all that being said, it's time to take a look at the potential rotation for this Thunder team. The starting lineup pretty much stays the same with Shea, Josh Giddey, Lu Dort, and Jalen Williams. The difference is Chet Holmgren is finally healthy, able to round out that starting 5. Then off the bench, you have rookie Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, Davis Bertans, and Jalen Williams. I do want to give a shout out to A. Wiggs and Poku. Both of these guys definitely do deserve minutes on this roster. I couldn't really figure it out how to get them into the rotation, but I'm sure they are the 2 guys that will hop in case there are injuries throughout the season. They definitely deserve some type of minutes. The thing I like the most about this Thunder team is how much size they have in their starting lineup. Their shortest player there is Lu Dort at 6'3", but we all know Lu Dort is a big 6'3". He's a burly 6'3", that fire hydrant type build where you're just super solid. That's the type of 6'3" he is. And then beyond that, you have SGA and Jalen Williams at 6'6". Josh Giddey at 6'8", which is crazy. I didn't realize he was that tall. And then, of course, Chet Holmgren at 7 foot. Having that much length allows them to pretty much just switch 1 through 4 and kind of just funnel them down low to Chet Holmgren, who will be waiting there happily at the rim. The one thing I'm kind of iffy about on this roster, though, is the fact that a lot of their scoring is going to have to come from Shai, Josh, and J-Dub. Obviously, that's not too big of an issue for Shai, though. He just averaged 31 points per game last season, just pretty much scoring at will, making All-NBA, all that. So, as long as he can keep that up, it won't be too big of an issue. I do expect Josh to take another step. I do expect Jalen Williams to also take another step coming into his sophomore season. So maybe they can take a little bit of that burden off of Shai's shoulders. But beyond that, this roster doesn't really have too much self-creators. I mean, off their bench, they have Isaiah Joe, who's a flamethrower. He can get hot at any minute, but he's not really creating his own shot and, doing all this type of whatever, creating his own offense for himself. So I do, it might be a little bit stressful for that big three to carry that much of a load on offense. The little bit of silver lining in that is at all times, this Thunder team should have a good playmaker on the court at all times. But you have Josh Giddey, who I mentioned, amazing playmaker. Shai is still a very good playmaker as well. Cason Wallace, the rookie, is supposed to come in and be a very good playmaker. Hopefully, with at least one of those three guys on the court at all times, they'll be able to manufacture some type of offense, but I do kind of worry about it just a little bit. That kind of leads us into the strength of this team, though, and I think it's going to be their defense. Here's a look at some of the Thunder rotational players along with their stocks last season. In case you guys don't know, stocks are just steals per game plus blocks per game. You have Chet Holmgren at the top with 4.5 stocks per game. Of course, that was in the NCAA, but again, like I said, he is an elite rim protector. I'm sure it's going to translate. Then when you look beyond Chet, you see the plethora of wing and guard defenders that this team has. Whenever I show stats like that, I do also want to give a disclaimer. Yes, I know that there is more to defense than just steals and blocks, but I figured it was just a cool little visual for you guys to see. I kind of alluded to this when I was talking about the rotation, but the size on this team is just incredible. They really just have length at all positions. And I think having that much length really makes it easier to muck up different teams' offenses. Take a guy like Josh Giddey, for example, who's not looked at to be a good defender or anything like that, but he knows how to use his length to really just disrupt ball handlers. He's a great chaser, putting pressure from behind using his length. And then when you surround him with guys on the perimeter like Lou Dort, Shai, J-Dub, the rookie Cason Wallace now, Kenrich Williams even will show a lot of effort on the defensive side. It just makes things really difficult to find some space and create space for a shot. And then if you're thinking, all right, let's try to at least get to the rim for an easy shot, Chet Holmgren down low. The Thunder were able to have a middle-of-the-pack defense. I think it was 14th last season with literally zero rim protection. I cannot stress that enough. They had zero rim protection. Now they're adding Chet Holmgren. I'm telling you, this defense could be top 10. It could be top 10. As we all know, though, no team is perfect. So let's take a look at the Thunder's weakness, which is volume shooting. Here I sorted out the Thunder's rotation by 3-pointers attempted per game, and then next to it you can see how they shot on those attempts. The highest volume guys on this team are Lou Dort and Isaiah Joe, shooting about 5.5 attempts per game. And then beyond that, there's just not too many attempts by the rest of the guys. When you look at that, the only high volume and high percentage shooters on their roster right now is Isaiah Joe and Davis Bertans. They have some other guys that are pretty good, but they just shoot a super low volume. Like Jay Will last season shot 40% from 3, but I think on like barely 2 attempts. Or Kenrich Williams, he shoots I think around like 37%, which is pretty good, but he is still super low on attempts as well. Then they got Lou Dort, who's on the opposite side of the spectrum, who leads them in 3-point attempts just out of bare necessity. He doesn't shoot them too well, 33%, below league average and everything, but literally no one else on the roster shoots them, so he just has to. I mentioned before, Chet Holmgren was a good 3-point shooter in college. Will that translate, and will that translate at least right away? I mentioned before, the defense is going to be solid for him, but the offense is kind of what I think has to, take some time to really come around. If he comes in and he's shooting, great from 3, he is just the perfect fit for this Thunder team. If not, though, I'm not too worried about it. I'm not expecting it. I think it'll come with time more. But it is super important for them to be able to space the floor, especially when their main guy is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who bread and butter is getting to the basket. If teams are able to just pack the paint, it's going to make things a lot harder for Shai Shai to score, and I've already mentioned before how much he's going to have to score in order to keep this team afloat. A lot of the offense is going to have to come from him. Now all that's left is to give the ceiling and the floor for this Thunder team. As always, we start with the ceiling, and the Thunder's ceiling, I have them as the 5th seed. They do win the first round matchup, but fall in the second round. In this scenario, Shai keeps up his all-NBA play, bars right there, as well as Josh Giddey and J-Dub taking that extra step offensively. That big three right there really performs in this situation. And with their new addition of Chet Holmgren down low, they're able to have a top 10 defense to really carry them throughout the season. And then for the Thunder's floor, I have them as the 11th seed, missing the play-in entirely and being in the lottery. I know it sounds crazy, but there is at least 11 to 12 teams that can make the play-in team right now for me, in my eyes. In this situation, though, the lack of spacing really does get to this team, and teams are able to just pack the paint, as I just said, and it makes things really difficult for Shai, Josh, and J-Dub to really just score. And I'm not saying a situation like this will happen, or I'm not saying I think a situation like this will happen, but if it does, I stress Thunder fans and NBA fans to just be patient with this super young team, allow them to grow, and regardless, this season, it's a good season because these players are growing together and growing their games and becoming better. Where do you guys think the Thunder are going to land in the standings this season? Make sure you let me know down low in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias. Make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.